just because. So, hello, everybody. I am Doni Belau from Girls Guide to Paris. We have an amazing presentation for you today with Carolyn Ray, my partner in all things women travel wisdom. There she is, beautiful lady right there, calling in from Toronto, yeah?
For the time being, yes, but who knows where next week.
Not for long. She's a gypsy like me. She's the head of JourneyWoman. If you don't know her, you should. You must follow JourneyWoman. They're the oldest and first women's only organization and media group on the planet, pre-internet. So our special guest, Carolyn, and my special guest today is Caren Osten. Say hi, Caren.
Hello, everyone.
There she is. She is a funny thing, you know, you meet somebody online. She's from my hometown of where you're, Katona, Mount Kisco, Bedford,
Larchmont.
Okay, so look, I'm lying a little bit. She's in Westchester, actually, my husband is the one who said, reach out to this girl. She just emailed us. She wants to rent our house in France, but she's a positive psychology coach and life coach. She's totally, you know, in your wheelhouse. You've got to reach out to her. So I did. We had this great connection, and we've invited her to be one of our speakers, our keynote speakers at the Women's Travel Wisdom Conference, which is in October. So we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But I first wanted to introduce her to all of you and to have her share some of her wisdom with us, because positive psychology, she's going to describe what that is. She told me a little bit, but I really would like to understand it more. Obviously, we're all in desperate need of more positivity, especially after these last 2 years. Don't you think, Carolyn?
Yes, this is why I wore bright colors tonight, so I could get into the zone with Caren.
Yes, and we really need that. And I have to say, I'm coming from the beach where I saw tons of whales, including a whale childbirth, a birth of a baby whale.
Wow.
I'm feeling really positive. So I'm going to just send you that energy out there. But to properly introduce Caren, not only is she from Westchester, but she writes regularly for the New York Times and every publication. She is a former and recovering travel writer, so she's got the travel addiction like Carolyn and I do. She is a life coach, a career coach, so obviously very busy these days. Everybody who is in that field is so busy because of what we've been going through the last two years, and positive psychology, certified in positive psychology, as well as mindfulness. I don't know about you, but I need all those things. I've had a life coach for many years, and it's the reason why I'm doing just what I want to do. So Caren is a rock star, and I'm just so grateful that she took time out from a busy schedule of doing all those amazing things to be with us. Caren, tell us, what is it all about? We have so much to learn from you.
Thank you, Doni, and thank you, Carolyn, for inviting me tonight. And hello to all of you from so many incredible destinations. It's pretty awesome what technology does for us. So I am going to share my screen and start by going through a few slides. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can share? Do you see that? Okay, great.
Perfect.
Okay, beautiful. So
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, just to let you know, all along the way in the chat room, feel free to ask a question, and I will ask Caren in a mindful way your question. Okay.
Yeah, you could do that, or you know, you can hold your questions till the end. Whatever works for you is good with me. So a little bit about what we're going to touch upon tonight. So we're going to start with what is positive psychology. Move on to where does happiness come from, talk about a few tools to increase our positivity and optimism. And then we're going to touch on mindfulness and its power in our everyday life. I'm going to offer you an easy tool to use anywhere to be more mindful. And then we're going to touch on self-care, and I'm going to give you a few ideas for a wonderful, beneficial way to start your day. So let's start with what is positive psychology. Positive psychology is the scientific study of human flourishing. This field is founded on the belief that people want to lead meaningful and fulfilling lives, to cultivate what is best within themselves, and to enhance their experiences of love, work, and play. The founder of positive psychology, Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania, he said, it's not about how to heal, it's about how to have a great life. His theory, which I'm about to introduce to you, describes flourishing as striving not to have the perfect life, but the optimal life. So this is essentially an illustration of the PERMA theory of well-being, which was popularized by Martin Seligman in his book, Flourish. And it suggests that there are 5 pillars of well-being. So PERMA, P for positive emotion. This is the extent to which people feel happy and have a sense of joy and optimism and life satisfaction. E for engagement, the extent to which people feel absorbed in the activities they are undertaking. It's this psychological connection to what you're doing, where you can learn and grow and sometimes even get lost in the moment, which is a state called flow. The R is for relationships, which is the extent to which people have positive connections with others. They feel socially integrated and feel cared about and supported by others. The M is for meaning, the extent to which people find meaning and purpose through their activities and feel connected to something greater than oneself. As Doni was just talking about, the whales and the birthing of a whale, like the awe that you probably experienced, Doni, when you saw that, right? There are things out there that are bigger than ourselves. The A is achievement, the extent to which people are achieving progress or results. They're moving toward goals and they feel capable to do their daily activities. So according to PERMA theory, if all of these elements are at a high level for individuals, then they are more likely to have a sense of well-being and said to be flourishing. Now you'll notice that there is a V in this illustration. So researchers added V for vitality. And this is an extra element around physical health. So vitality being the extent to which people include exercise, sleep, nutrition, and tools that connect the mind and body to reduce stress, such as mindfulness meditation. So PERMA V. Now, it's very important to know that we are more in control of our happiness than we think. So this comes from research by a scientist named Sonia Lyubomirsky. She wrote a book called The How of Happiness. And her research shows where happiness comes from, that 50% of happiness is determined by our genes. So that is totally out of our control. 10% is determined by our life circumstance, and that is somewhat out of our control. And the remaining 40% is determined by our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. And that is entirely within our control. So the good news here is that we are co-creators of our reality, and our happiness is largely based on our choices. But it doesn't come easily. This is not about being happy all the time. Being human includes the ups and the downs, the opportunities and challenges. What this is about seeking what makes an optimal lifestyle for you to live a joyful, meaningful, and engaged life that includes relationships with people you care about and who care about you. I think one of the biggest misconceptions of positive psychology is that people think it's about being happy all the time, and it's not at all. It is it incorporates the entire spectrum of human emotions, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The emphasis, however, is on broadening and building what is or has gone well, worked, and been successful in your life. And then you can focus on those specific elements and apply them to what may be a current obstacle or challenge. Now, one of the reasons that happiness doesn't come easily for many of us is because our brains are wired with a negativity bias. And this wiring was once necessary for our survival. Well, the dangers are entirely different. We do not have saber-toothed tigers lurking around the corner, but our brains remain wired to respond to stress in the same way. So we inherently have the tendency to focus more on the negatives than the positive, often noticing what's wrong with my life, and what's missing. In other words, we've evolved to give more weight to our flaws and our mistakes and our shortcomings than our successes. There's a great saying that the bad stuff sticks to us like Velcro, and the good stuff slips off like Teflon. One way to counteract that negativity bias is to open up to positivity. And there's an exercise from positive psychology that I assign my clients very often. And it's to ask yourself this question daily. What was the best moment of my day? Very simple. At the end of the day, you sit down for dinner, you call a friend, and you ask that person what was the best moment of your day, their day, and you share your own. By asking yourself this question each day, you will discover, one, that every single day has a best moment, even the darkest days. Number two, you will be looking for best moments. This question will shift your focus from the negative things to the positive, which you may have otherwise taken for granted. They've always been there, but we don't always notice or credit them. And thirdly, by doing this on a consistent, regular basis, by asking and answering this question, you will change the neurochemistry in your brain. You will build new neural pathways that emphasize the positive. It's said that it takes 30 days to begin the formation of a new habit. So if we do this over, let's say, a 30-day challenge, answering the question, what was the best moment of my day? You will be changing your brain chemistry. If we open ourselves up to more positive experiences and noticing, we are launching an upward spiral that elevates our optimism, our hope, and our appreciation. So my teacher is Tal Ben-Shahar. He taught positive psychology at Harvard. I did not study at Harvard, by the way, but I did study with Tal Ben-Shahar about a decade ago. And he often reminded us that at every moment in your life, you have a choice. And it's all these moments that add up to a lifetime. And he told this story about a woman, a 92-year-old woman named Mrs. Jones, who was petite and well-poised and proud lady. And she was fully dressed each morning by 8 o'clock with her hair fashionably coiffed and her makeup perfectly applied, even though she's legally blind. This is pre-pandemic that he shared this story, and her husband of 70 years had recently passed away, which provoked her to then need to move to a nursing home. So after a few hours of waiting patiently in the lobby of the nursing home, she smiled sweetly when she was told that her room was ready. And as she maneuvered her walker to the elevator, an aide provided a visual description of her tiny room, including the eyelet curtains that had been hung on her window. I love it, she said with a burst of enthusiasm. And the aide said, Mrs. Jones, you haven't even seen the room, just wait. And she said, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Happiness is something you decide. Whether I like my room or not doesn't depend on how the furniture is arranged. It's how I arrange my mind. I already decided to love it. It's a decision I make every morning when I wake up. I have a choice. I can spend the day in bed recounting the difficulty I have with the parts of my body that no longer work, or I can get out of bed and be thankful for the ones that do. These are the kinds of choices that we can make in our lives. And this story really evokes a sense of gratitude, and a gratitude practice is also a very powerful tool that many of my clients use, where at the end of the day, you may open a journal and write down 3 things for which you feel grateful for on that day. And again, you begin to look for those moments and those things that you appreciate. So, moving on to mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is being aware of what is happening as it's happening. Now, a more scientific definition would be mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment in an accepting, non-judgmental way. Mindfulness can be practiced anywhere. It can be practiced while we're brushing our teeth, just noticing what does it feel like to have the bristles rubbing against the enamel? What is the taste in my mouth? What is the sensation of the bubbles, right? What is the movement of my hand? Similarly, you can practice mindfulness while you're on the checkout line at the supermarket, noticing the colors, listening to the sounds, walking down the street, same thing. Why is mindfulness needed now? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. These things are pulling our attention in so many directions at the same time, and we are training our brains to be in a state of continual partial attention. Harvard did a study a few years ago, and the results showed that nearly 47% of our time is spent thinking about something other than what we're doing. That's pretty astounding when you think about it. About half the time we're doing something, we're thinking about something else. So as our interconnectedness grows, we need to learn ways to manage our time and attention, because we don't have an off switch. And that is what mindfulness can do for us. By bringing a focused awareness into our lives, mindfulness can allow us, in the time that it takes, to breathe in and breathe out, to gain perspective. This is a tool that can give us some direction if we just pause. So this is called the stop tool for obvious reasons. If you find yourself, in a moment of stress, in a moment of fear or anxiety, not really sure what to do, S, stop what you're doing. T, take a breath or 2. O, observe. What sensations am I feeling in my body? What am I feeling emotionally? What am I thinking? And then P, proceed in a way that is comforting and will best serve you. What do I need right now? Perhaps I need to call a friend. Perhaps I need some fresh air. Maybe I need to hug my dog or sip a hot cup of tea. Taking a pause to let the mind rest in the present moment is one of life's greatest luxuries, and it costs nothing at all. And it is available to us anytime, anywhere. Okay, one of my favorite topics. Self-care is not selfish. In fact, you cannot effectively take care of any other person or people if you don't take care of yourself. I'm sure, being that you're all travelers, you remember quite well what the airline safety instructions are for when the oxygen mask drops. Put the oxygen mask first on your own mouth so you can then help your children or others in need. And yet, so many of us struggle with the notion of self-care, and we're unable to bring awareness to what we need, both emotionally, internally, and physically, externally. Self-care, with self-care, we cultivate this resilience to make change. We have to be prepared internally. We have to fill our reserves. And one of the ways to do that is through self-compassion. We know there's a great importance. This is part of the V, the vitality. We know the importance of sleep, the importance of nutrition and physical exercise. This is where we can take care of ourselves and be loving and kind to ourselves, which is very hard for most of us. When we're feeling badly, maybe we didn't finish something we started, or we think we've done or said the wrong thing, we're so quick to beat ourselves up. I will never forget when I was in college, my parents invited me to join them in Florida for a weekend. And I was so excited, and I packed my bag and I went to the airport. And when I went to check in, the agent at the airline said, "You're at the wrong airport. You are at LaGuardia. You have to be at Kennedy." So I ran to the payphone, because that's what we had back then. And I called my parents collect. And I'm sure most of you know what that is. My father answered the phone and he accepted the charges. And I burst into tears. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I went to the wrong airport. And without skipping a beat, my father said, "Congratulations, you screwed up." And I remember that story, and I hold on to that story because in that moment, my father gave me the permission to be human, the permission to be imperfect, and to mess up. And that's what self-compassion brings to us. It's this idea that you can actually be kind to yourself while accepting your own faults. It's about treating yourself the way you treat a friend who's having a hard time, whatever the circumstances. So we talked about choices, and one is to take care of yourself, as we said, emotionally, to plan your days with intention and ways that will cultivate your well-being. You may consider, how can you shape your environment and build your routine and create an infrastructure so that the healthy choices become easier and more accessible? So a few questions that you can ask yourself each morning to bring more positivity into your life, to bring more self-care, to bring more mindfulness. What can I do today that will boost my mood? What can I do today that will nourish me? What can I do today that will strengthen me? What can I do today to inspire me? And my final slide is the best reminder of the 40% that make up our choices that we make each and every day to cultivate a life of health and well-being made up of positivity and serenity and meaning and connection. These are things we can cultivate. We have more control than we think. So remembering, people who wonder if the glass is half empty or half full miss the point. The glass is refillable. There we are. Did I stop my share?
Yeah, that was great, Caren. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you. That was so moving. I feel, Carolyn, that you and I should throw out our questions that we have for her. I maybe there's a couple. And then please ask your questions in the chat, because I feel like you've given us such a gift with that presentation. It's really profound what you're speaking about. Mindfulness has become kind of a cliche term, almost overused, but you brought it back home. It's such an easy to understand, simplified, I feel like, I could have spent hundreds of dollars getting that information and that was free. Wow.
One thing, Doni, that I'd like to add about that, and, since you're talking about mindfulness, is, our breath is our biggest gift, and it's always with us. And if we can just turn to our breath in times of need, or even just, I know at Thich Nhat Hanh at Plum Village, they used to ring a bell at different times of the day, and everyone would just stop what they were doing and just take a breath. Yeah. Right? If we just remember that our breath is here to anchor us, right? To anchor us, keep us steady, keep us grounded, and just follow the breath, the inhale and the exhale.
Yeah, I went, as you know, Caren, and I talk about it a lot, maybe it getting annoying, but I did learn how to meditate from Thich Nhat Hanh, not just him, but at the Plum Village. And if you don't know who he is, he just passed away, very famous Vietnamese Buddhist monk. We'll put his name in here. But we are going to be doing some of this kind of stuff at our women's travel wisdom retreat. So as you can see, it's what we're doing. Carolyn and I have put together in October, and we're going to talk about that next after some questions, is a lot more than just talking about travel and wellness. It's going to be joining a circle of like-minded people and boosting each other up. We need to, Carolyn said it the other day, hug again, be less worried again, be positive. And somebody asked here, two great questions. Oh my God, so many good questions. How do you tell a friend who's constantly negative that you don't want to spend time with her? Caren.
Well, to that, I mean, if this is someone that you don't want to spend time with because they're negative, can this person unmute? Shelley, can you unmute and just say a little bit more? Is this someone that you don't want to be friends with anymore?
I have mixed feelings about that, but since we live in the same world and we have tickets to things in the future, but where she lives, I tend to live very much in the present and in the moment. She lives totally in the past. She's been raised to be a princess. She's never worked. She's has a lot of money. Her husband died about 6 years ago. And she totally, if you're it's hard to have a conversation with her because whatever you say, she'll say, well, I remember my husband and I did this, or they did that years and years ago. She has she doesn't really have good social manners because she's really a snob and she totally is self-involved. And it's just gotten to me and I don't know what to do about it. I didn't talk to her for 2 months and then she kind of sucked me back in and I don't know how to handle it.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that you have choices to make. You have choices to make. And maybe you can't make the choice that you're going to bump into her at the theater or be at an event with her. Perhaps you can ask her questions if you have to interact with her that are about the present. You know, what are your plans for the weekend, or how did you enjoy the show? But really limit your interactions with her to the best of your ability without being rude. The other thing I would say is perhaps to bring a sense of compassion to the relationship, to, knowing what you know about her, that she's had challenges and some hardship, sort of thinking about that when you do see her may help you tolerate some of the difficult aspects of the relationship and be a little bit more understanding.
Could I say one thing too? I think now that I lead these ladies on trips all over the world, and I call them negative Nellies. In general, in my life, I don't want negative Nellies around, and I do my best to not have them around. Life is too short, as Carolyn says a lot. But when you're in a situation where you can't get out of it, you just are going to shower her with love because she needs it. She's a hurting person. And if you have to be around her, for the moment you're around her, it's all about giving. And it's not about judging her, like Caren said. Carolyn, I'd love you to jump in here now and get us back on track and ask some questions. And then I have another wonderful question here from our chat.
Sure thing. Well, first of all, I've got to spend a little more mindfulness when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, because I am just not doing that at all. So I will try that tomorrow and see how I do. But I just came back from a retreat, and I was telling Doni about this. There's two things I wanted to mention. One is we were given a bracelet. This is the bracelet when we arrived, and we said, and the instruction was, wear the bracelet if you don't want to be hugged or touched or come near. And of course, all of us wore the bracelet because we just thought it was so pretty, and we went around hugging each other. And it made me realize how important that physical connection is, and how much we've lost of that, because this is wonderful speaking with everybody, but obviously the pandemic has really changed how we connect with each other, and how we all these things that are so important to us that we've lost. And I'm curious from your perspective, as we start to re-engage in social situations, what are some ways we can do that are mindful and that are compassionate and that are in positive, healthy ways? Because I think there is a bit of social anxiety around seeing people for the first time. But I have to say, it was so wonderful, because it was the first time I've been with a group of 30 women in 2 years. So it was an incredible feeling.
That's amazing. It sounds like a beautiful experience. And I think as we emerge from this crazy 2+ years, I think we're all have to sort of re-enter in a way that where we do take care of ourselves, right? We really do think about, what is it that I need? Maybe I don't want to, maybe I'll feel overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So what are the things that I need to make myself comfortable? So I would say, on one hand, it's important to go slowly and do what feels right and authentic to you. And, relationships are the #1 predictor of our well-being. There was an 80-year study that has been done at Harvard University called the Grant Study. And everything that has come out of that study, and then like hundreds of millions of dollars that have been spent, show that it's all about love and connection. And no matter how small, they are impactful in our lives. Even these micro moments of connection, like, hugging someone. We've made do with Zoom and FaceTime, here we are, but there is nothing like being in person to look at someone in the eyes
Yeah.
to touch someone's skin, to hug someone, to listen actively and mindfully in a way that is much more challenging when you're on a screen. And I also want to add, we are resilient creatures, we humans, and put us in an environment where we are safe and we feel like we can be our true selves, where we can learn and smile and play and cry, and we will create and build and maintain our connections again. We just have to be, we just have to go slowly and be mindful of what we're ready for.
I loved what you said. Happiness is something you decide. And just the idea for me of taking some of those questions that you had and literally putting them on a wall when I wake up in the morning, or something to help me focus more on making my day more purposeful and more intentional. Because I think the reality for a lot of us, me included, is I'm sitting here in a 500 square foot apartment and there's nobody here but me. And if I don't do something like that, I'll just go through my day and nothing will be different from the day before. So I really love those questions that you put up, Caren.
Thank you. Thank
Beautiful.
you.
A couple more great questions here. Some real thoughtful, cool ladies on the call, and men. Kathy says, I was surprised to see that 50% of our disposition towards happiness is genetic. Can you talk more about that, Caren? And how do we overcome genetics that are not helpful to us?
Well, the genetic component, so first of all, if you want to read more details about the research, I would suggest getting the book, The How of Happiness by Sonia Lyubomirsky. Because she really goes into detail about it. But to know that we are born with a genetic makeup, right? And so that is outside of our control. And there's really, if you are genetically predisposed to depression or, severe anxiety, well, there are obviously interventions that we can do, right? There's medication, there's therapy, there's a number of interventions, but we cannot change our genes. So it's just a question of accepting what is out of our control. And that is why that pie chart is so powerful, because we just don't normally recognize that we have so much control of our happiness. And I also give clients and students something called, I ask people to make a positivity booster list. What are the things that bring you moments of joy? Who would you call for a lift? Where would you go to feel better, to soothe yourself? What activities make you smile? Do you like to read, take a bubble bath, be out in nature? Make a list of all the things that make you feel good, that bring you these positive moments. And then assign yourself every day, I'm going to do 2 things from this list. Call a friend, cook a meal, read a book, whatever it is that makes you feel good. These are the kinds of things that we can be intentional about and insert into our day.
Beautiful. I see another great question from Donna. I have noticed that my mind is negative. It always brings up things from the past where I didn't feel good about myself, or situations I was stuck in. I'm curious about this. I have been meditating for over a year now. Good for you. I'm always in a place of self-discovery. Yes, that's true for all of us. But like I said, I have recently observed my mind is negative, but I don't consider myself to be negative. What do you make of this?
Well, I'm going to do what Doni did. First, I'm going to congratulate you for your meditation practice. I think really bringing mindfulness into your life will be helpful. So remember, it's being aware of what's happening as it's happening. when we do that, when we are in the present moment, what does it prevent us from doing? It prevents us from worrying about the future and from ruminating about the past, right? So, again, in that, on that question, what's the best moment of your day? Maybe you just took a bite out of a sweet strawberry and that was the best moment of your day. Or your pet greeted you and licked your face and that was the best moment of your day. And then your adult kid called you and said, I miss you, Mom. And that was the best moment of your day. So to be in the present moment and to experience what is happening as it's happening, again, retraining the brain. What was the best moment of my day? What are the 3 things today that I feel most grateful for, right? If we do that, we begin to retrain the brain. We change the neurochemistry. If you think about a neural pathway, it's like the bed of a river. And the more you do an activity, the deeper you dig the bed because the water is flowing again and again and again. So you can do the same thing with mindfulness, being in the present moment and savoring those good moments, those best moments of the day. I hope that helps.
I want to also just put in a 2 cents here, not that I'm nearly as qualified in any way as Caren, but that negative voice in your head, everybody has that. And I name that voice, I call her Sheila, and I say, shut up, Sheila, if I don't want to listen to her. And because, that voice, they say it's an amalgamation of parents, the mean principle, like every mean person in your life. And sometimes we hear that voice as a reason, the voice of reason. So, but it is the opposite of the soul and the passion and the heart and all that. So that voice says to me, oh, you can't do that. You're not, oh, how did you screw that up? There's just constantly being mean to yourself. Tara Brach, B-R-A-C-H, has a great podcast and she talks all about how nobody beats us up. And she's a psychologist and a Buddhist. Nobody beats us, us up like ourselves. And that's that voice. So you can also just say, nope, not listening to you today. No way. Because it's different. That's not me. That's a voice, but that's not me. That is not me. That's not who I am. So it's not identifying or listening to that voice, except for when they say, don't put your hand in the fire, like some basic stuff. Anyway.
That's a good point, Doni. And I'd add to that we can't necessarily stop the voice from popping into our heads because we're human and we can't control everything, all the thoughts, because there are millions of them every day. But when a thought grabs our attention, we can ask ourselves, is this true? Are we okay here?
Yep. I'm just going to pull up, keep talking.
Okay.
2 minutes long for our next topic. Go ahead.
Is this true? Do I know this to be true? And just ask yourself, do I need to if this isn't true, goodbye to that voice. Just wave it goodbye. I considered what you had to say, thought, and now I don't think it's true. So goodbye and let it go.
Yeah.
I wonder if we can apply all this thinking to travel right now, because we're all either thinking about traveling or traveling. And how can some of the things you're talking about, Caren, how can those help us feel perhaps more in control of our fear or anxiety, or help us, if we want to travel, maybe take that first step to travel? I know some of us have been traveling more than others, and we're kind of getting comfortable with the new way of traveling, although it is tricky and challenging. What advice would you have for, as we apply these principles of positive psychology to travel? What would your advice be for us?
I think, first and foremost, we have to, know that we're doing the best we can in order to put ourselves in a safe environment, right? We're doing everything that's in our control. worrying about whether or not I'm going to get sick somewhere, that is the future that we can't predict. That's where the mindfulness can be so helpful. You know, I want to take this trip. I'm going to plan in the best way I possibly can. I'm going to take care of myself and go through all the checklists of things I need to know. I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to try to be in the moment so that I can enjoy myself rather than worry, what if. That voice is telling you something that it doesn't know to be true. It's just a what if. So I really think grounding yourself, reminding yourself to be in the present moment, and to, you know, go back to opening up to these experiences that bring you a sense of awe, that put you out in the world where you can explore and build new relationships and connections and learn about other cultures. This is why you love traveling, right? So, you know, not to let the fear, the worry stop you from living in the optimal life for you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Doni, are you gonna?
Yeah, I'm muted, and I was talking like I wasn't muted. I just want to tell you guys about this conference that we're having. It's not a conference, it's a retreat, or a symposium. I like that word. And Caren is one of our keynotes. You can see why we've invited her. I think her wisdom and her knowledge is incredibly important at this time. I guess I invited Caren, actually told her a little bit about it. Also when I invited Carolyn, when I first started thinking about this, and asked Carolyn to be my partner. And I had this idea of combining travel and wellness, but it's become something so much bigger. And people like Caren are making it a much bigger event. In your own words, why are you participating, Caren? And then Carolyn, tell us why you're going. Why are you a part of this? Just because I want people to really understand what it's about before they consider is it right for them.
Okay, well, let's start with the name, Women's Travel Wisdom, right? For me, it was a no-brainer to jump on board as part of the retreat because it brings together these three things I am thrilled to be a part of and so excited about. A group of women who share a love of travel in an environment where there is going to be so much to share and learn from one another. You know, the speakers as well as the retreat guests will have an opportunity to exchange ideas and thoughts and science and strategies for living a life with everything we want: more peace, more joy, meaning, connection, and play. So what could be better than that?
And I love the way you say play. Just sounds so much fun. Carolyn.
Well, to me, you know, as JourneyWoman has for 30 years worked to empower women to feel safe when they travel and to travel in a way that helps you live the life of your dreams. I mean, I'm sure many of the women on this call, if you asked, what's your number one thing, it's travel. And for all the reasons that we love it, to learn, and because we're curious and we want to embrace new perspectives. But I think this retreat in particular is an opportunity after, you know, a pretty bumpy 2 years for us as women to get together and reconnect and also find our voice again as women. I think it's really important. I think we as women will change the world. We will make the world a better place. And this is, to me, a step in the right direction where we're not just talking about, you know, how many places we go to. And this is about us making a difference in the world. And the speakers that we have are so incredible. And I'm sure you're going to go to the next page, Doni, but I spent almost an hour on the phone yesterday with Long, who wrote a book called First They Killed My Father, and was made into a movie by Angelina Jolie. And of course, we first started talking about menopause, but then we then we actually talked about other things. But my goodness, like, just, you know, she talks about kindness and compassion and how important that is. And we as women have the opportunity to foster that and cultivate that and be role models for that. So this is the kind of thing we're talking about. It's not just about travel. It's about bringing these two ideas together in a really, really powerful way. So I'm thrilled that Doni invited me to be her partner. And I think the women that are coming to this, it's just even Lola, Debbie, you know, everybody. It's just an incredible. How often in your life do you get to have a group of women like this together for 5 days in the mountains of California? I just think it's incredible.
I know, I'm so excited about it. It's something that I sort of in the back of my mind, I just feel like even every time I get together with a group of 5 friends and made my business all about women connecting. And I know that's what you guys all do as well. And it enriches me so much when I'm learning, growing, and listening to the wisdom of other women in particular. And guys are great, married to one, love him, I love my son, but there's something special about women and they're coming together. Debbie Phillips is my life coach, and the reason I'm doing exactly what I'm doing is thanks to her. So she's going to bring us together in the beginning. She is, Carolyn knows, amazing. She's actually doing a webinar for you, right?
Yeah, on February 22nd. So that one will be a little more specific to travel and talking about how you can manage your emotions and kind of take back control of fear and anxiety and regain optimism and all the other characteristics and mindset we need for this new world of travel that will be, actually this new world isn't just about travel. We're going into a whole new space here.
It really is, because we're being fed so much fear on the news. I've actually stopped watching the news. I've been a lifetime news junkie. Lola, I heard speak at Women's Travel Fest, a fantastic travel conference, really just for travel. And she made everybody cry. She is profound, incredible woman from Nigeria, coming all the way from Sweden. That's where she lives. And she's written a bunch of books, and she's an award-winning National Geographic photographer, been every place in the world. You met us. Diana Eden is a friend and I think on your board, or she writes from you. Tell us a little bit about these two ladies. They're incredible.
Yeah, Diana is our Women Over 80 columnist, and she just brings a wonderful perspective. She has a book called Stars in Their Underwear. And she was a costume designer for movie stars and has a very long list of awards for costume design.
But she's just out there traveling on her own, solo, all over the world in her 80s. And I think that gives us all hope. We can be like really cool into our 80s. I desperately need that. I need to feel that's possible. And tell them about Brenda too. She was a great find of yours.
Yeah, so it was very important to us that we bring in Indigenous wisdom to this. And so Brenda is someone that I met a few months ago. She lives in Alberta, Canada, and she does medicine walks and nature walks, and she also runs tours and that kind of thing. But this is really, she's going to do some morning and evening walks with us and help us get reconnected to nature and also to ourselves, because in her view, you can't really connect to nature until you're kind of like connected with yourself first. So she was a guest at our holiday party actually in December.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We also have some breakout sessions. So Shauna is another amazing person that tell us a little bit about her. She's totally incredible. I mean, she's talking about positive energy.
Yeah, she sure is. So Shauna is also on my advisory board and is a wellness and health expert. And she looks so healthy, doesn't she? Just this photo makes you want to talk to her. But she's written a best-selling book on sleep. And how important sleep is.
She's a health coach, but it's not about, counting calories. It's something much bigger, much bigger. Everybody here in this group is thinking very big. Robin, I'm into wabi-sabi, and that's the Japanese art of living with imperfection and being okay and enjoying the seasons, asymmetry. It's sort of the opposite of kind of the way we look at the world. She wrote a book, one of the first books in America on that. She was the head of a fitness magazine, and she also wrote a book called Cannabis Cooking. So that's interesting. She's going to be talking about both. Krista Stanley is going to blow your mind. One of the smartest people I've ever met. She happens to be a really good friend. And then we've got Amanda and Nora. A quick word on them. We're about out of time. So if you have any last minute questions, just throw them in there. And obviously just go to our website here if you want to sign up. I am going to give everyone who signed up for this call $200 off if you sign up before the 15th. And the code, the hashtag is positive. So do you want to talk about Amanda and Nora?
Oh, sure. So Nora is my animal conservation ethics expert. And I think she and I are on a mission to think about how we re-engage with wildlife when we're traveling. So things like not swimming with dolphins, please, or swimming with any wild animal. So she talks about consent-based travel, but I have learned so much from her. And I hope that when we go back out into the world, we can be much more respectful of animals. And then Amanda is my editor, and she and I have been doing workshops for a few months now on visioning and developing your, looking at your values and your purpose and how you can travel in a way that is that suits your life and suits your values. So she'll be doing a workshop on that.
We're going to do some pre and post trips if anybody wants to extend their stay. We're going to Mandala Springs. It's a gorgeous 200-acre mountain retreat. I scoped it out this fall, and there's a whole bunch of different places to stay. It's like adult camp, excuse me, for ladies. So I just want to thank, Caren, particularly you for your time. And your insight and your knowledge and sharing it in such a digestible. You said everything that I learned from Thich Nhat Hanh, and sometimes you need different coaches like tennis, like some person can say it a different way. And you just made me feel it, all that beauty and that love and that connection again, the way you presented. So I just can't thank you enough for your presentation. Yeah, that was just, it hit me, it hit my heart, and I'm sure everybody is the same. And thank you, Carolyn, for being the best partner in the world. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And I'm going to leave you with one little story. Again, Thich Nhat Hanh was my teacher, not personal. I was there with 1,000 other people about 5 times in Plum Village. And he used to say, if you're feeling worried, think about the orange. So he had this little Vietnamese accent. And think about the orange. The orange, in the orange, you can see the whole world. You can see the tree that orange grew on. You can open it and you can smell the smell. And you can imagine the people who had to plant that tree and the workers. And then the sun, thank you to the sun that nurtured that orange. And then you open that orange and you realize it's a miracle. And he said also, what we think is a miracle is walking on water. He said the miracle is walking on land. We are walking on land with our own 2 legs, and many people are not. So we have to be grateful, even to be able to walk and to smell and to taste an orange. And gratitude, he said, is where you get happiness. It's just about gratitude. It's so simple. So we got to do away with that fear, stay connected. Go to events like this, come to Zooms, meet your friend, tell that negative brain goodbye. And I'm going to say goodbye to all of you. And thank you again for this fantastic, inspiring 1 hour that I had with you, Caren. Thank you. I'm just thrilled that we got to share it with all you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Carolyn, too. Thank you. And we'll share this with all of you who have a moment to be here live. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.